Engine 1 for car 1. Car 1's on scene. If in command, give me a CAN report.
My stroke definitely changed the course of my story. I was on one track, football player, try to win championships. Out of all the years that I played, I never thought about my heart. I only thought about my strength. What was I squatting? What was I bench pressing? Everything that I could, what was my weight? The physical attributes. I hardly ever thought about my medical health. When I had that first stroke, I was in disbelief. My support team started with this one right here, with Heidi. She was my team captain.
Teddy is so unique. He does not see the world like other people see the world. And I love that about him. He's also the most generous person I've ever met. And he's also my best friend. I believe that he was the strength of our family. He was the rock of our family at that time when he suffered his first stroke. And I did not think he was a superhero as much as I did think he was invincible. I did not see a stroke in our future.
What's going on, everybody? This is Stickers of the C.A.N Report, Nozzle Tov. I wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about something that's very near and dear to my heart, and it has to do with your heart and your head and just everything that you have going on in your life. I was actually pretty inspired to talk about this again due to the recent media attention from hip-hop artist Childish Gambino. He just talked about having a stroke, and he details about how his stroke felt like a migraine. And he went to the doctors and found out he had a stroke, and then they found out he had a PFO, a patent foramen or valley. So I wanted to talk about that. Again, I like to make sure that people are aware of what's going on with themselves and to seek self-care and to listen to our minds and our bodies. So a little bit about me, in case people don't know, I have suffered from migraines for almost 40 years that I've suffered from strokes. I remember vividly when I was a young kid, probably around 7 years old, of getting my first migraine. And it was pretty interesting, and nobody understood it, not even my parents. And I wasn't a chronic sufferer of migraines, but I got them pretty often. Usually it would happen maybe every once a month or maybe even every other month, but they would happen and they would come in strong. And when I'd get them, I would get them what they would call auras, where you get the kind of like the warning signs that a migraine is coming. You start losing sensation in your fingers, you start losing vision in one of your eyes, and then you start getting the pain of a migraine. And I have suffered from that, and I dealt with it for over 40 years. And you get a lot of nausea from it, and you just feel sick, and you feel tired, and you feel drained. And unfortunately, it was never really anything to do with it other than you just get migraines. So for me, that was just the case. Mike just had another migraine. You're just going to have to bear with it. A lot of medication. I just needed stuff to knock me out. That was all I wanted, was just medication that would put me under so I wouldn't have to deal with the pain. It was up till like it was in my mid-30s when I suffered my first stroke. I was preparing for Father's Day. We had a big event going on in my house. I had just come off a night shift with working dispatch, and we were going to the Rock and Rib Fest that was in Merrimack, New Hampshire. And we spent the morning having fun at the Rib Fest. And I did a run. I did a 5-mile run pushing my kids in the stroller. And we had a great day with that. Rushed home, rushing to clean the house, getting everything ready for family to come over, have a big barbecue. And then I had a migraine. And actually, it wasn't that severe of a migraine, but it hurt. And so I had to go upstairs and sleep it off. I missed the whole day for that Father's Day because of the pain, because of the migraine. I couldn't participate in that event for that day. And that was really disappointing. The next morning I woke up and my vision felt funny. It felt like there was like a fan circling overhead. And that carried on for a good couple of weeks. And I just thought it was the residual effect of having the migraine. It waited a couple more weeks. The vision loss or sensation was still there. And I waited a couple more weeks, and then it turned out to be a month, and it's still there. So I went to go see my eye doctor. My eye doctor said, there's not much we can do for you. It seems like you have some kind of visual disturbance, but we're not neurologists, so we can't really see what's going on. So I went to go see a neurologist. And as I explained to him what I went through and my symptoms right off the bat without even a test, he said, sounds like you had a stroke. And I was pretty shocked by that. And they gave me an MRI, and come to find out, I had a stroke. I had a left occipital stroke. And I gotta admit, I was pretty emotional about that. You know, being in my 30s and someone telling you had a stroke, you know, you think of strokes like that only people in their 60s and 80s get strokes, right? Not somebody who's healthy and strong to get a stroke. And I got one. And so I was pretty upset about that. And it didn't affect me in the long term. The only thing that really affected me was my peripheral vision. But that, again, that was 10 years ago. I tried to find answers of why I was having these migraines, because I still had them and they were still severe and they're debilitating, and you just can't function with them. So I continued to try to find answers, especially getting the diagnosis of having that stroke. And I went down to Boston for specialists, and the specialists couldn't tell me why I had a stroke and why I'm getting these migraines. And I just lived with it, that there was no answers. There was nothing I could do. And just, you know, take it easy, try to avoid the stressors, which I thought was pretty funny considering what we do for our line of work, right? The stressors of migraines, lack of sleep, alcohol, stress, and physical exertion, right? Everything that we do. And the alcohol factor of it is I tend not to drink a lot, but I actually reduced my alcohol intake a lot because I was experiencing migraines. Definitely for me, alcohol was a major trigger for my migraines. So if anyone is suffering migraines, reduce your alcohol intake or just cut it out completely, because that doesn't help you at all. If you think about it, it dehydrates your body, and your body has to work harder, and it can trigger that migraine. So do yourself a favor, take the alcohol out of the equation. But we can't take the equation of stress and lack of sleep out of our job. So roughly 2 years ago, I had a regular migraine that happened at work, and I had to sleep it off. And the next day, my vision felt funny again. Different than what my first stroke was, but it definitely felt off. And so this time I didn't wait a long time. I waited about a week or so. And then I said, you know what? I need to take care of business, because I don't want to think that I had another stroke and not take care of it. So I went to a new doctor, and they referred me to a new neurologist. And as I explained again my symptoms to him and my background, he says, all right, we're going to do some tests on you. We're going to do some more tests. And one of those tests was an echocardiogram. And with the echocardiogram, they found out I had a PFO, a patent foramen ovale, which can trigger strokes. And so they did more tests with me, and they found out, yes, I do in fact have the PFO, and it's a little bit bigger than they like, and they're going to need to close that up. So that's 40 years in the making. And I don't want anybody else to have to go through 40 years of pain or possibly get multiple strokes. So PFOs and migraines they coincide, and is a big factor of PFOs and strokes. Teddy Bruschi had a PFO, and because of his PFO, it caused him to have a stroke. Thank goodness he was able to recover from that. I'm here to talk about that, especially for first responders, is that what we do for work, it's really important to understand what's going on with your body. But also, when we're dealing with patients, especially the younger ones, the toddlers, the teenagers, they normally don't get migraines. And so when they start complaining about severe head pain and loss of sensation, or the pins and needles in their fingers and loss of vision, they are more likely are having a migraine, and they could be having it because of a PFO. So it's something to think about and to take seriously. Just don't cast that head pain aside and go, it's just another headache, or they're being weak. It's something that it should heavily be considered, and to give those symptoms to that intake doctor so they can actually look a little bit further, and hopefully give them an echocardiogram so they can check things out further. And for us, just like mental health, we put things off. You know, we don't want to seem weak to people. So when we're fatigued, or, you know, we have muscle pain, or we have headaches, we play it off and we try to muscle through it. Well, it's not a benefit to anybody. And for me, when I receive my migraines, I can't function. I lose vision. I lose sensation in my fingers. I pretty much have a typical stroke. And you have to be honest and real, because if you can't see, you can't drive. You can't drive the ambulance. You can't drive the fire truck. You can't tech your patient because you're concentrating on all those symptoms that are going on with you or the pain. So I want you all to realize that when you experience a migraine, don't take it as a sign of weakness, and don't take it as a failure. You're not letting anyone down. You can't help what's going on with your body. You have to be honest and real with yourself and your crew. You got to let your officer know, hey, I'm having some kind of medical condition myself. I got to set this out. As much as you don't want to, as much as we hate to let our crews down and be sent home, you need to take care of yourself so you can go back to work and take care of what needs to be done. But you got to be there for yourself and for your family first. And so also what sparked me is that, again, Childish Gambino had spoken about this at his recent performance, and that he had a migraine. He didn't know what was going on, went to the doctors, and they said he had a stroke. So I wanted to share that clip with you guys because I think it's very important that it's still very prominent and that we should immediately get care for ourselves. So let's listen to this.
I was doing this world tour, so having lots of fun. I had a really bad pain in my head. I went to the hospital, and the doctor was like, you had a stroke. And the first thing I thought was like, oh, like, here I am still copying Jamie Foxx. That's really like the second thing. The first thing, and they found a hole in my heart. So I had this surgery, and then I had to have another surgery. So now everybody has 2 lives, and the second life starts when you realize you have 1.
So there you go. So it's very important that we look into this. It's very important that you know what's going on with yourself and take care of yourself immediately. And like Childish Gambino said, it puts things in perspective when these things happen, because you realize you've got that one life and you want to live it to your fullest. So I want to make sure that you are aware of these things, that we are paying attention to our bodies, to our minds, to ourselves. And again, for me, it took a while to really fully come to terms with that. My wife, she gets mad at me. Boy, she gets mad at me a lot. But usually she knows that I'm having a migraine. She can see it on my face. She can see that I'm squinting, or I look like I'm kind of in pain. And I play it off like nothing's happening, because I don't want to make her nervous. I don't want to make her scared. I don't want to let her down. And when you're having these events, you're not letting anyone down. You've got to let people know that something's going on so you can get help, so you can figure out these things. So with the PFO, the patent foraminal valley, once that was found out, I got to see a cardiologist. The cardiologist spoke with me, and they did their tests, and they gave me a stress test. They check your cholesterol and everything else. And honestly, they also gave me like the facts and figures too, and data of like how uncommon it is for a young person to have a stroke. If you've had a stroke in your 30s, you have a higher rate of possibly having a PFO. So if you had a stroke, demand answers. Just don't let your doctor say, I don't know why you had one, and then walk away. Say, no, there's something going on. Check me for this, check me for that. So they gave me the echocardiograms and revealed that I had this issue. So the next step was to get it fixed. And yeah, I got to tell you, it was a little nerve-wracking to know I'm going to have a procedure on my heart, but it's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. Now, again, when I found out I had a PFO, now manage this, right? You found out you had a stroke. That's scary enough, right? I dealt with that for over 10 years, and being told you had a stroke, that's scary enough. And then find out you have some kind of heart defect. That's scary too. Now, mind you, PFO is very common. Actually, everyone has a PFO technically when they're in the womb. When your body's being developed, your heart has a hole in it, and it's there. I'm not going to get into the whole science behind it, but please look it up. But it is there. And when you're born, it closes up. But for some, it doesn't. And so for me, it didn't close up. Now, for a lot of people who have PFOs, it doesn't affect them. They don't have any heart issues. They don't have any migraines. They haven't had a stroke, and people go through their natural born lives with a PFO and everything's grand. But for some people, they can throw a stroke. And that's what happened with Childish Gambino and Teddy Bruschi and myself. And it's happened to a lot of other famous people as well. You have to find those answers. And so they all had repairs to get that done. And so for me, I had the same thing. And so I had to go in for a procedure to have the PFO closed up. And they go through your femoral artery, and it's almost like having a stent put in. They go through your femoral arteries. You're kind of knocked out for it. They go up and they put that plug into where the hole is. It takes maybe a couple hours, and then you're out. And the recovery time is about a week. And it was about a week recovery for me. But the hardest thing was the soreness from them going in through the femoral arteries. You're kind of sore in that groin area, pretty bruised up. It was pretty colorful. But then you recover. I was back on the truck within a week and doing everything perfectly fine. I'll let you know that I did have a migraine after the procedure. I think about a month or so afterwards. But I was going pretty hard on the drill yard and was doing great. Had a great day moving hose line, doing a bunch of stuff. Got back to the station, migraine. Maybe it's from me going a little too hard, too quick. I'm not sure. But I haven't had one since. That migraine also wasn't as severe as I normally get. But I still had the auras. I started losing vision in my eye, and I started feeling the numbness going on in my face. So I still had some of those auras going on, but I haven't had one since. So you still need to watch what's going on. It's not like you can have a free ride again and destroy your body. You still got to take care of your body. So you need to make sure you're not consuming bunches of alcohol. Watch those triggers, right? The sleep deprivation and the stress levels and the physical exhaustion. You still have to do your due diligence and take care of yourself. And so the PFO procedure, if anyone is being told they have to have one or you've heard about it, I'm telling you firsthand, it's not that scary. It's scary to think that you're going to have a procedure on your heart, but it's all good. It doesn't hurt. It's very quick. It's very normal. It's a very common procedure. A lot of people have them, and the recovery rate is super quick. So I want to make sure that people were aware of PFOs and aware of the migraines and strokes going on with that. So if you're feeling like you're having these issues, that you have severe migraines and you're not having a recovery from that recent migraine, you could have something going on. And I want to make sure that you are all aware of it, because I think it's very, very important. And having that personal experience, I wanted to make sure others are aware. And I'll just play you one other clip too from a doctor who talks about how both all come together. So again, there is a high chance if you're having migraines with auras, you could potentially have a PFO. So we're gonna look at that as well.
And migraine in patients that had a cryptogenic stroke. And some interesting things can be derived from this study, which was published in 2018. The prevalence of PFO in patients that have cryptogenic stroke was about 50%, which is what I described earlier, more than 25%. Now, if you had a cryptogenic stroke and a migraine, then 79% of those patients had a PFO. And if you had a cryptogenic stroke, migraine, and aura, then 93% of those patients had a PFO.
So there's that. Again, all this information is out there. I want you all to be aware of it. I think it's very important that, honestly, for all of us to have that knowledge. I didn't know anything about PFOs. I wish I did. Obviously, if I had known, I would have gotten the procedure done sooner. But again, it's not the end all be all for us, for migraine sufferers. You could potentially still have a migraine. It might not be severe, but it can still happen. But the payoff is you hopefully will not get a stroke from the PFO. That is supposed to eliminate the effect of that. So again, look up PFOs, see what it does with the heart, understand what's going on with yourself. And again, if you are experiencing migraines, or if you've been experiencing them for a really long time, like I had, do something about it. Just don't take no for an answer. There's something going on. And a lot of times migraines cannot be explained. It's a big mystery. And you might not have a PFO. And unfortunately, then you got to try to find some more answers. But avoid the triggers, avoid stressors, avoid physical exhaustion, especially alcohol, smoking, all those things play into that. So if you're a migraine sufferer, I feel you. I really do. I understand what's going on, but do yourself a favor and try to find those answers. And again, for us being a first responder field, when we're dealing with patients, and especially from toddlers, 30-something-year-olds, even 40s, if they're saying they're having a severe migraine and they have all these stroke-like symptoms, they potentially could be having a stroke, even though the you're making them smile and lifting their hands and things seem okay. They could potentially still be having some type of stroke. It's definitely not normal for teenagers and toddlers to have those kind of symptoms. So make sure you're documenting that in your patient care report and when you drop them off at the hospital to let the doctors know, hey, they're having severe migraines. These are the symptoms they're having. They're having auras. Those are the key things to talk about. So I just wanted to put that out there. I appreciate you all for all your support and for listening to C.A.N Report. And I want to give that back and give that information back to all of you because we all need to be safe. We need to be here for each other. We need to be sticking around for a long time. And I want you all to be well. So please look it up. Peyton Foreman or Valley's Childish Gambino, again, just talks about having his procedure. Teddy Bruschi had his. There's a slew of others. So again, it doesn't matter that celebrities have them. We all have them. But just to let you know, they are out there, real. Brent Michaels of Poison, my 80s rock right there. He had them as well. So, and they all had them repaired. And again, I know people personally, I have good friends that also have PFOs and they didn't have them repaired because they're not getting migraines and they haven't had a stroke. So just be aware of that as well. If you're having a stroke or migraines, they're going to have to look into it and see if they might need to actually close that. But if you have a PFO and you're perfectly fine, you don't need to have it closed up. So also be aware of that as well. Just because you have a PFO doesn't mean it needs to be closed. If you're having a good, healthy life and with no symptoms whatsoever, you're good to go. So also be aware of that as well. So with that being said, I appreciate you all. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm an open book. If you have questions about your migraines or people with migraines, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions I can answer or point you in the right direction. But thank you all very much. Y'all take care. Be safe. Nozzle top.